Today, we are talking about the blueprint for success. We're going to break down the essential framework that every single successful organization uses to turn a big vision into a concrete reality. And that is, of course, planning and goal setting.
So, here's what we've got on tap. We're going to kick things off with a real-world crisis. Then, we'll unpack the strategic toolkit that turned it all around. From there, we'll dive into how to build and manage goals from the executive suite all the way to the front lines. And finally, we'll tackle the biggest challenge of all. How do you plan for a world that never, ever goes according to plan?
First up, let's dive right in by looking at what happens when planning just fails. We're going to see how a wildly successful company suddenly hit a wall, forcing them to learn the hard way that a good plan isn't just about growth, it's about survival. So picture this, it's 2015, and this was the terrifying reality for Chipotle. A series of foodborne illness outbreaks put the entire brand on the brink of collapse. This wasn't just bad press, it was a threat to its very existence. And it all started with over 200 people getting sick. But believe me, that was just the tip of the iceberg. It triggered this cascade of events that saw customers flee and the company's entire future just hanging in the balance. This whole mess really brings up a fundamental question, right? If a four-star general says that even the best-laid plans can completely fall apart, why should any manager even bother planning at all? I mean, is it just a waste of time in a world that's so full of surprises? So, if plans are doomed to fail, what's even the point? Well, Chipotle's comeback story gives us the perfect answer. It wasn't luck. It was a masterclass in using a formal, structured planning process to navigate straight out of that nightmare. Okay, so let's get our definitions straight, because they're actually super simple, but absolutely crucial. A goal is the destination. It's where you want to go. The plan, well, that's the blueprint for getting there. The resources, the schedule, and the exact actions you need to take. And this is exactly what Chipotle did. They didn't just cross their fingers and hope things would get better. No, they set a new, crystal clear goal. Become a leader in food safety. And then they backed it up with concrete plans that any employee could follow, like timers in the kitchen and daily health screenings. Now this is the engine that drives a comeback like that. The planning cycle. See, it's not some document you write once and forget about. It's a living process that moves from big ideas down to daily actions. And maybe the most critical step is the last one. You monitor and you learn from your results, which feeds right back into developing the next plan. It never, ever stops. Now, a great plan isn't just for the folks in the corner office. To really make it work, you have to break it down into a perfectly aligned hierarchy. This ensures that every single person in the organization knows exactly what part they play in the big picture. It all starts at the very top, with strategic goals. You can think of these as the big, ambitious statements that define the long-term vision for the entire organization. This is the company's North Star. And here's a perfect example from Volkswagen. I mean, look at this. It's not just sell more cars. It's a fundamental transformation of the entire company's future, shifting it towards electric vehicles and sustainability. Now that is a goal that completely reshapes a business. So you go one level down, and you get to the tactical goals. This is where middle managers step in. They take that big strategic vision and figure out what their specific divisions, we're talking marketing, production, R&D, what they need to accomplish to help make it all happen. And finally, we get all the way down to the operational goals. This is where the rubber meets the road. These are the specific, day-to-day, measurable targets that frontline employees and their teams are working towards. Think things like process 150 applications this week, or reduce overtime by 10% this month. This is where the grand strategy actually happens. Okay, so we've got this beautiful, neat hierarchy of goals. Awesome. But how do we make sure they actually inspire great work and don't, accidentally create a bunch of huge new problems? Well, it turns out that the most effective goals aren't just vague wishes. They follow a pretty clear formula. They need to be specific and measurable. They gotta have a deadline. They have to stretch people, but still be realistic. And crucially, they have to be linked to rewards that people actually care about. But, and this is a huge but, there is a very real, very dark side to all this. When the pressure to hit unrealistic goals becomes just overwhelming, it can drive people to do unethical and even illegal things. The Wells Fargo scandal is a perfect and honestly tragic example of goals gone completely wild. So how do you get the benefits of goals without falling into that trap? Well, one really popular system is called management by objectives, or MBO. And the magic of MBO is that it's not top-down. Managers and employees sit down and set the goals together. This creates a sense of shared ownership, which makes it a really powerful tool for alignment and motivation.
All this theory is great, but let's make it personal for a second. Take a moment and really think about your own work style. Do you thrive when you're given a precise target to hit, or do you work better with just a general direction? And how about this one? Deadlines. Do they fire you up and motivate you, or do they just stress you out? Your honest answers to these questions can actually tell you a lot about whether a highly structured, goal-driven management system is a natural fit for you.
All right, now we've reached the final boss, the ultimate challenge. We've built these beautiful plans and goals, but we live in a world that is completely, fundamentally unpredictable. So what do we do now? Modern planning has some really cool tools for this. Contingency planning is basically about asking, what if? It's creating a plan B for specific disruptions you can see coming, like Aston Martin planning for supply chain problems because of Brexit. But scenario building, that goes even further. It's about imagining entirely different futures, like Shell rehearsing for a world where oil prices never recover, just to build up that strategic resilience.
And sometimes, the best way to plan for an uncertain future is to just go out and create it yourself with what's called a stretch goal, or my favorite, a big, hairy, audacious goal, a BHAG. A goal so ambitious, so seemingly impossible, like Amazon creating the Kindle from scratch when nothing like it existed, that it forces a complete shift in thinking and drives radical innovation.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. We know, from the very beginning, that no plan is perfect. It's going to hit roadblocks, it's going to break. So the real test of a great planner isn't just their ability to draw up a blueprint. It's their foresight to build in the resilience, the creativity, and the adaptability to thrive when that blueprint inevitably gets torn to shreds. So, I'll ask you, what's your plan for that?